are back here with Elona Appleby with Monkees. She's a Monkees franchise owner. You tried to mess me up.
I was going to say Monkees.
Monkees?
And make you say it wrong.
Just looking at you.
Welcome to the show, Elona.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're happy that you're here. I had actually not heard about your business until Michelle mentioned it to me. We did a little research on you, and she always does her deep dive, so we're excited to get to know you a little bit.
What do you mean you're not in the women's boutique?
I am not in the women's boutique fashion world, no.
That's like a dagger to my heart.
He's really in the men's.
Money I'm
He's really in the men's
This
fashion.
is LL Bean, which is just super high fashion, in case you didn't know.
That is the second time you've mentioned LL Bean today.
That's
we should
my
probably
thing.
get sponsored by LL
LL
Bean or
Bean,
something
yes,
for sure.
please send us a check.
So you are located in the same shopping center as Garbo's, right there by the Preserve.
Yes.
And how long have you guys been there?
We opened November 8th of last year, but I had been eyeballing that center for, probably a year and a half before I even signed the franchise with Monkees. But as you know, the previous restaurant went out of business.
Yes.
And then when Garbo's came in, I thought to myself, oh, okay, we're back in business. And I met the owners and the store manager there, and they assured me they're doing great. And
the owners of Garbo's.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it
shopping
was the
center.
owners.
Oh,
I know that it's
Is it that guy Steve that's from California?
Yes,
Yeah.
that owns it. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to own the space over here that we used to lease from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before we built this
Apparently,
building.
he owns all kinds of strips
He
everywhere.
does, yeah,
in the
that's
United
his
States.
thing. I don't know if it's true, but I heard he made his money in Star Wars. He did something in Star Wars. He was special effects.
Oh, maybe I'm going to have to
See if you get him on.
I'm going to
yeah.
have to do a little deep dive. So
he doesn't like me, so maybe he won't come on. Surprise!
nobody likes you, Steve. I like you.
Yes. Let's back up a
Yeah,
little bit.
I believe that is true, though.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think that is true.
Yeah.
Not that he doesn't like me, but that he's from California.
But his
and-
wife apparently heard that Monkees was going to open there, and she's the one that rooted for Monkees.
Oh,
cool.
And I'm a big negotiator, so it worked out.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah, because he's pretty tough, so
Yes.
good for you.
Yeah.
Well, I want to back up a little bit. You grew up in Albania,
Yes.
which I had to
was-
look up on a map. It's just north of Greece. Did you
Yeah.
know that?
I
No.
did.
Yeah.
It's the gem of Europe.
The gem of Europe, is that what they
Yeah.
call it? Is that because
But
it's
don't
real
tell
pretty?
anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it'll get
That's
overrun
That's
with tourists.
And there you moved to Dripping Springs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So, and what you left there, I want to ask you about Albania, but how did you end up in the States from Albania?
So in 1996, I think it was, or 1995, that's when the Civil War erupted in Albania. And my family just applied to move to the United States. Total long shot. Nobody believed that it would ever happen. And sure enough, my mom got the paperwork that they were interested in letting us come and move to the United States. And they, unlike today,
yeah, how difficult.
they had to go through probably like a year and a half, 2 years of like extensive background checks.
Yeah.
Even while were they already here?
No.
Before they
You were still in Albania.
Yeah, before you could even come here. So, it ended up working out, and my mother always wanted the opportunities, just like everybody else, of what the United States has to offer. So she left everything behind with my dad, and they moved here
And
when
so
I was 10.
did you just pack up your life, like suitcases, and just move on?
Yes. So the when they moved here, we each had like a luggage and a half or 2 luggages.
Wow.
And nothing else.
The bravery that they must have felt, just kind of. Did you have any family here? Did you know anybody?
So my aunt was here at the time. She had just moved. She was married. So really just one aunt. That's all there.
Wow.
She just had her sister here. And we moved, and they didn't speak any English at all. So it was a true immigrant
Where?
story.
Culture
Where in the
shock.
States?
It was the first time was in New Jersey.
Okay.
And then we settled in Florida afterwards because in Albania we're from the coast.
Oh,
Yeah.
And my family was like,
Yeah.
we don't want this.
Not going to live in New Jersey. Yeah.
Florida was the closest to the part of Albania we were
Yeah.
from, so they picked Florida, and that was home.
What did your folks do in Albania for a living?
So my dad was he was into fishing, so he had a charter company
Okay.
at the time, and then I mean they lived a good life. You know, they did well for at that time until the war broke, and then it was chaos after that. But my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She actually used to work, make rugs.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
how they do it, like in Turkey, like
Oh,
the Turkish
really?
rugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was actually, like, she would create patterns for those rugs that you see. Those.
Uh-huh.
And she knows how to read the patterns and make the rugs. I know it's
Oh,
pretty
wow.
cool. Even to this day, I'm like, Mom, I'm going to buy you one of those machines, and
Yes.
I want you to make a rug, and we're going to sell it for $20,000. And she's like, do you know how long those things take?
That's pretty good. Did
So-
you have brothers and sisters that came with you? Or was it just
Yeah,
you?
I have a brother that's 5 years younger than me. Yeah, so
So a
Does he remember
10-year-old
much about it?
he does remember a lot about it, but he has been going back home a lot more often than I have. Although now that my kids are older, we're going a lot more.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you have been back a number of times?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you still have family there?
Oh yeah, we still have family in the capital and down the south where we're from.
Okay, and I don't know anything about it was a civil war?
The Civil War.
Okay, and what, so how long did that go on?
I mean I think it lasted for like 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and then there was repercussion because Albania was a communist country. I was born during the fall of the regime, actually.
Wow.
I like to tell everybody to thank me for that because I
Yeah.
brought light into the world.
Do you have dual citizenship, or do you?
I do.
You do. And so, will your children be able to have dual citizenship?
they could.
Also.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So I was doing some little fun facts about Albania because I really didn't know a lot about the country, and so but I did kind of think it was fascinating. So
It is one of my favorites.
you call your country, and I'm going to butcher
Saranda.
say it again.
Saranda.
Sarandam. Did I say it right? Okay, which means land of the eagles.
Yeah.
Is that what it means?
Yes.
And so your flag is a double-headed eagle. That's pretty cool.
I didn't know
right?
that. No.
Okay, so and the Albanians nod. I was gonna watch her do it, but now I could. They nod no and shake their head for yes.
Is that true?
Yes. It's very confusing. It's actually, it confuses me
Yes.
at this point because I've been gone for so long that,
So
there's-
it's no. It's no.
No.
Right?
yeah.
And yes. Maybe.
No, that's the way we
no.
do it.
Yes. No. Yes.
Yes.
And no.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna get it wrong. Okay, what was the other one? Oh, the love of coffee is apparently crazy. It's like more cafes per capita than Italy.
Michelle, I'm so impressed. You
I know.
did your
Oh,
homework.
she knows how
Thank
to
you.
do some stalking.
I love
And
this.
but you're basically nobody until you've had at least 3 Turkish coffees by noon. So I mean that's the kind of
Yes.
are they super strong?
There is, did you just mention it or did I make it up in my head? But there's more coffee shops per capita.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, like in Albania than anywhere in the world. I mean, these people, this is all they do.
Are you a big coffee drinker?
I am.
Ah, so it
I'm
carries
not-
over.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to drink coffee. Steve doesn't let me drink coffee.
No,
either.
it's dangerous.
It's very- it's-
bad things happen in the office when
It's
she
very
drinks
scary.
coffee.
One of the other things was about the hospitality that the Albanians had. It says it's
Yeah.
very sacred. If you walk into an Albanian home, get ready to be fed like you're royalty. Whether you're hungry or not, refusing is not an option.
It is
Steve,
not.
that would be something that you and I.
we would struggle with that.
What was the caveat one that I told you that blew, the famous person that was Albanian? Do you remember me
I
telling
don't
you?
remember.
Mother
There's several.
Teresa.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah.
So
Did you know that?
I sure did.
I mean, don't you think that they would know
Yes,
that?
I guess I would. Yeah, if I was
Well,
Albanian.
Dua Lipa is Albanian.
is she really?
Rita Ora is
Oh, I
Albanian.
did not know that. I didn't know Dua Lipa was Albanian. I mean, I'm not of that age. I'm sure my daughter would probably know that,
Please,
but I just
please
saw.
don't ask me if I know who that is.
Yeah, you probably don't.
I don't know who that is.
And you were mentioning it earlier. You have your own unique language. It says, with zero relation to any other, Albanian is its own linguistic branch. Basically, it's the Beyonce of Indo-European languages.
It's pretty amazing. I do love the Albanian language. And I'm so grateful to my mother and the rest of my family for not letting me forget it. Because there was a time where we didn't go back to Albania for a really long, many years. And no matter how much I spoke to my mom in English, she would respond in Albanian. And then my brother going back and forth so many times, he'd come home and we'd speak. It really is, but I think it's with every other language, being able to speak Albanian. Albanian is probably, it's the funniest language. Like, there's stuff that my brother and I will die laughing. And my husband will look at us like, you two are stupid.
Does it follow any other like country where, like, if somebody else is speaking Greek, like, can you pick
Is it
up?
similar to any
So
other
that's
language?
funny because Greek, I when I was little, I grew up spending summers in Greece because I had family in Greece. I come from a really big family where we're probably in Egypt or China too. I don't know.
God,
I don't know. But Greek. Growing up there, so like I used to speak Greek as well, and I understand it some now, but it's different. Like every language, the way you think about the words and how you put them together, and what's sarcastic in one language makes no sense in another. It's really fascinating to me. Yeah.
How's the economy in Albania doing now?
It is, well, it's been discovered.
Oh,
So-
a lot of tourists there now.
Yeah, it's been discovered, and all of Europe basically vacations in Albania because all the Americans vacation in the rest of Europe.
Yeah, in Greece,
Yes.
right?
He's saying we've ruined Europe for everybody else.
I'm not. No.
Well, speaking of vacations, when I was reading also about the bunkers and how they're everywhere, over 170,000 concrete bunkers were built during the communist rule, and now are some are now cafes, museums, and Airbnbs. That's
Interesting.
pretty cool.
So the dictator at the time, he always believed that they were an invasion away every single day. So they built bunkers
So-
everywhere. I mean, I remember as a little girl, and my grandmother lived in this little bay, and at the time it was like we were us and like two other families that had grandchildren. We were like the only grandchildren in the entire bay. And there was bunkers by the beach, and we would play in those
And
bunkers.
so they weren't manned because they were.
No, they weren't manned. They were just, it would be a total hazard here. You'd get,
It's like a
the whole
tree
country
house.
would get sued.
Yeah, so it wasn't it was a communist country, but it wasn't part of Russia. It was its
No.
own separate
Yes.
communist country with this
Yes.
dictator that
Yes.
ran it. Wow.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I'd never heard anything about that history, but I'm glad they're doing better now after all that turmoil.
Oh yeah, no, they're pretty. I mean, the country is safe. Everybody asks like, is that safe? And I'm like, it's probably one of the safest countries in Europe.
Yeah.
And so many people don't even realize
Yeah,
that.
I bet that's true. I
I'm
think
not doing a good job at keeping it a secret.
Talk it down.
And now you aren't. So one of the other things that's pretty famous are the Albanian weddings. Did you have a over-the-top wedding?
I did not. No. It's not just weddings that they do over the top.
Everything's over the top?
Every party's over the top.
First birthday for your kid is over the top. First, holiday, first this, first that. Second birthday for your kid.
Jeez.
Third birthday. I mean, they like to celebrate a lot. When I got married young. It was either go down to Albania to have the kind of wedding that I wanted, if I went that route.
Uh-huh.
But no, I had a fabulous small wedding,
American
wedding
Yeah.
on the beach, just like I wanted it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it was great. Yeah.
Tell me how you go from Albania to New Jersey to Florida. How'd you end up in Dripping Springs, Texas?
Well, I married a man.
Oh,
It's a long road to
On the
paradise.
beach, you married a man,
Yeah.
and he came to Texas.
Yeah, and actually, he is in the waste industry.
Okay.
So we have lived in all over Florida. We've lived in Georgia. We've lived in Tennessee. We've lived in Arizona, and now here in Texas.
Is this home? Is this where you say
You know,
you're gonna...
it's so funny because when we first moved out here, I remember I told our real estate agent, she was trying to talk Dripping Springs up so much. And she's like, you're going to love it here. And I looked at her and I said, listen, I'm going to need you to not try to talk this up for me because I'm here 4 years and I'm going back to Florida.
Oh, you didn't like it?
And I told my husband, I was like, you've got 4 more years out of me. You're going to either need a new wife or a new job because I'm not moving anywhere else. And then we moved here. The 4 years came, and my husband's like, "Oh, we can go back to Florida now. We're done here, or we can stay here, whatever you want." So we asked the kids what they wanted to do, and nobody wanted to move, including myself.
So why has it grown? What's changed that it's grown on you?
You know, Florida is great, but every time I go back, when I come back here to Dripping, it feels home.
Yeah.
Like I come down that hill where you see that
Yes,
Dripping Springs.
that's exactly what I
And-
said.
I'm the same.
And you know what? There is this sense of calm and safety that I feel here that I haven't felt anywhere else. And I've lived a lot of places. We've traveled a lot of places. And I want to raise my kids here.
And your mom is here now too, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which
Yes.
is nice. She
Yeah.
helps you run the store.
She does. Yeah. She is the biggest cheerleader of my life.
Oh, that's great.
Her and obviously my husband as well, but her in particular, because to know her story, which is, gosh, like it could be a movie.
We may have to get her on the
Yeah, no
podcast,
kidding.
right?
Does she speak good English?
She does,
Yeah.
yeah. But she's just the most positive person you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm like, how can you look at the positive in that? She's like, she always finds the
That's
positive
the way my
in
sister
something.
Donna is. Yeah, she just, no matter what, she finds that silver lining.
The silver lining,
Yeah.
and that's her. And sometimes I think to myself, okay, I'm just gonna think like mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in those tough times, you go, I'm just going to think like mom or
Yeah.
think like Donna. So you got how and when did you get into the fashion industry? Because you've been a designer, now you own this retail store. How did that all start?
So it started when we moved to Florida. We had just bought our second little house, and it was at the peak. So we made some money of our first house. We owned it for 6 months, and we thought we had made it. in life.
Rolling in it,
Isn't it
yeah.
true?
Yes. So we moved to Tampa, and I worked as a makeup artist for several major makeup brands. So I just traveled, and basically it was sales, but in makeup.
You got your feet
and
wet,
skincare.
though, in retail.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah. And it was, and I tell this story all the time because the makeup counters are usually right next to like the shoe department, or so. It was Thanksgiving, and I'm sitting at that makeup counter, and I'm looking across the makeup counter, and I see 2 women, one on one side of the table and the other one on the other side, and they have this boot, and they're just fighting over this boot, back and forth, like fighting over who's going to buy the boot. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm in the wrong business.
Never seen that fight with makeup,
No,
have you?
and I thought to myself, one day I'm going to design shoes, and hopefully one day somebody will fight over them. But that was just like a joke. I never even, dreamed of doing that. Then I had to, I didn't work after we decided to have children. So I was a stay-at-home mom, and I focused on that until 2014 when I was pregnant with my second one. And I knew that after that I'm not I have be doing something.
Right.
So that's when I did the research and decided, you know what, I'm going to design some shoes and I'm going to learn everything there is to learn about.
Is there like a shoe university? Like,
I was going to say, YouTube was
No,
just kind of
no.
new then, so it's not like you could get on YouTube.
I'll tell you what I did. I would go into these Italian, because I knew I wanted my shoes made in Italy, because I wanted to go to Italy.
Oh,
That's a way to do it.
yeah.
Yes. And so I would go to these websites, Italian websites, and I would translate them, like the little toggle, like every website. And I turned my I can't believe I'm saying this. I turned my entire dining room area into my office for my meetings.
Oh, jeez.
Because I wanted them to think they were talking to the big boss,
Oh.
not some little girl in in East Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
And it worked out. I found a great factory, and we became great friends. They showed me all the ropes, and that James Carlton's is actually a combination of the names of both my boys.
That's the shoe. The shoe company that
James
you own.
Carlton's,
Some
yeah.
beautiful designs on here. I was reading, I don't know where I think it was another article that I was reading about you, that you have become so close to this family, this factory,
Yeah.
that he checks on you, knows your kids. And
Yes, yeah, they're great people. They got, when COVID happened, they got hurt. They hurt
Oh,
bad
gosh,
by
sure.
that. But doing the wholesale side of it was a lot more work than I want. It required more being gone from my children than what I wanted to do. So it defeated the purpose of
Supplementing,
the
yeah.
whole thing.
Uh-huh.
So that's when I decided, well, I can still do this at a much smaller scale than what I was trying to accomplish at the time, and still be with my kids. But ultimately, I really wanted a little store. But we were moving so much that I needed to know where we were going to grow roots.
But your shoes
And-
are sold in different, like you were telling us earlier, that your shoes started out in a boutique in California. So you were selling these high-end fashion
Yeah.
designed shoes in California. You're here in Tennessee. And so did you feel like...
it was wild. Like being able to sell $1,200 shoes with my kids' names on them in Corona Del Mar while I lived in East Tennessee
Yeah.
was pretty awesome.
Have you ever seen your shoes like tagged in
Yes,
some
in
high-
fashion, in magazines. Yeah.
Oh, that is so...
That's funny.
Yeah.
So are these designs your actual designs, or do they like make a bunch of different shoes and you pick which ones are yours?
They do. I mean, they make shoes for everybody,
Yeah.
but the designs are mine. They have an in-house sketch artist that's incredible, and whatever vision I have, like I'll sketch something, and like the jeweled shoes right there, I had sketched those. Those are real Swarovski crystals.
Oh, wow.
I had sketched those, and the designer there, he goes, well, your foot won't stay in there. So we got to do this and we got to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just know what I like.
Yes.
I'm not,
You're the idea girl. Like,
Yeah.
you figure it out.
yes.
I do. Oh, look.
So-
Oh, wait. That's not... That's women. So do you do any men's or
No,
only?
just women's.
And I saw in here you had a spot for, maybe it was somewhere else, but you had a spot. Oh, there he is, for housewares. Did you have housewares at one point, or did you decide to go home decor?
I was going to do that, but when I turned my
focus on
focus
monkeys.
on monkeys, this took a pause. So this is still more wholesale.
But you're selling them in your monkey store.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I did the story I told you about the women fighting over the
Yes,
shoe.
uh-huh.
I had a complete moment in my store a few months ago. There was one pair of shoes left. They didn't fight; they were girlfriends, but I could hear them going, "No, you get them. They look good on you." And then the other one was like, "No, you get." Apparently, they had the same size.
Same
foot.
size feet.
So they were going back and forth about the one, and I was like, "Wow." It was pretty cool.
That's a full circle.
That was an
kind of moment.
anti-fight. It was like,
Yeah.
no, you take them. No, you take. That's what we do.
Southern girl.
Yeah.
That's a Southern girl
Yeah,
fight.
that's
And
right.
then your
Being
girlfriend
polite.
wears them, and then you're like, oh, you're wearing my shoes. Like I've done that
Give
before.
those back.
My girlfriend bought a really cute blouse at the Houston Rodeo. It was the only size, and I was like, oh. And I saw her carrying it around, and I just kept waiting to put it down.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm grabbing that, and she walks right up, and then I was like, darn it.
You know, we've all been there.
Darn it, for sure. I want to know.
I've not been
You
there.
have not.
You haven't
I
been there?
have not been there. I want to ask you what your biggest challenge has been opening the store.
Oh gosh, we're gonna go there.
We jump right in.
The city of Dripping Springs is not very business friendly.
Getting
Small business
getting
friendly,
permits
yes.
for the
You
construction.
are not
really?
the first person
Yeah.
we have heard say that. I
Yeah,
mean, it has
it's-
been a difficult road for a lot of people.
And that's a shame because it shouldn't be like that.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just inexperience? Do you think they're not? I mean, we're growing so
It's
fast.
bureaucracy. They hire people for those jobs and they take those jobs very seriously, and that just adds a layer of complexity.
Suck it up because we need to stick to our small town.
Yeah.
Right?
But you were just building the inside of the store out. You're not doing anything on the outside, right? Maybe a sign.
It was, the sign. But everything needs a permit.
Right.
And they had to come out twice. And let me tell you, I have the best builder building my store, and they had to come out twice, or they were out of town for 2 weeks, and then they had to do other. We were down the list, and when you're a small business owner,
Time is money.
time is money.
Mm-hmm.
I was delayed 2 months that I had
Wow.
to basically pay rent for 2 months because
Yeah,
the guy was on vacation and he couldn't come
I know.
out.
And people that work. This is not disparaging the city, but people that work in city type jobs or bureaucratic type jobs, they don't understand that us business owners, that every day costs us money. To them, it's just another day, it's like another paycheck. But to
Yeah.
us, it can cost us thousands and thousands of dollars for those delays. Yeah, I think if they understood that, they'd be a little more proactive.
I learned a lot about that through watching Bill and Michelle over at Pigpen.
Mm-hmm.
Just delay after delay after delay. So, maybe we need to get together a little bit.
Yeah, we need to get Bill Folds back in here, the mayor. I think they hired an inspector that works for the city. It used to be a
Yeah, they were
third-party company.
contracting,
Yeah, and that typically from what I've seen, when they're an employee, it doesn't work as well as if it's a third-party company
Yeah.
that only does inspections, because they're not invested in it at all. It's just a job to do, and they show up and they get it done.
Yeah.
Where the city makes you jump through a
Yeah.
few more hoops. But
Well, when we go back to the store now, and so now you're running Monkees, and you have rave reviews. People all over Dripping Springs love it, talk about it. I see a lot of the outfits around town. I think actually my pastor's wife was wearing a dress from your store that
I love that.
on Easter Sunday. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, what is the trick to putting yourself together, to looking put together when you're putting together an outfit? Or if someone comes into your store and they have no idea what they're talking about, or like if Steve's wanting to buy an outfit for his wife and he's like, I could totally see him doing this. He's like, well, she's kind of about this size.
that's
She's about
exactly
this
what I do.
tall."
She comes up to here. She's about that thin.
So, I mean, I guess that's a twofold question. Is like, what's the trick to putting your outfit together, and how do you help a clueless man like?
Do you have
Steve?
clueless men come in and go, I want to buy my wife something or my girlfriend something?
We do, and we never try to guess anybody's size because we don't want the husband
Probably
to get
smart.
in trouble. Because
I could see that. I could totally see
you
that.
could go wrong both ways.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
When we do get that, we try to focus on jewelry and stuff
Smart.
that will work.
There you go.
But at Monkees, we keep track of everything every customer has bought. So we know, so if your wife has been in the store, and she has bought even like a single dress from us, we will immediately know what size she is. Or especially if it's a repeat customer and we can see, because we have photos, like we could see everything that we saw in that store just by pulling her name up, and we can pretty much tell what her style is by seeing what she has bought in the past.
But if someone's walking in now, so now, it's me, I'm walking in and I'm like, I'm going to tell you about an event that I'm going to, whatever it is, a grand opening or chamber event or something like that. And so are you kind of asking those questions, like, what are you buying this for?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So the first thing when they come in, if they are looking for a dress for a particular event, what I like to do is I always tell them, well, why don't you take a few minutes by yourself, go around the store, and I can pretty much tell what their style is by what they're picking.
What they're picking up and looking at.
Yes. Yeah. So that helps me go, oh, okay, so she likes the fit of this, or she likes the pattern or the color. So she's not afraid of color, so I'm going to show her this. Mm-hmm. So that makes it easier. I think that's something that we all do now in the store. But that's not to say that we don't suggest
something that would be out of their comfort zone.
Out of that comfort zone, because once we know every style, every dress, how it fits, which designer clothes run bigger than most, which one runs smaller than most. So we've only been in business now for 5 months, but even in this short time, we know every piece of product we have in the store and how it's going to fit on a certain body, which is pretty cool.
I think that sort of customized shopping experience is huge, and it makes it, because it is a little more expensive than going to, like a department store. But that finding something that maybe is a little out of your comfort zone, but looks good on you, makes you feel better, and somebody can suggest things. You go into a department store, you're pretty much on your own.
Well, nobody's paying attention to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fashion's always been kind of interesting to me. When I was growing up, I always thought fashion was this thing where somebody would wear something and other people would look at it and go, oh, that's really cool. But then as I got older, I've realized fashion is actually something that it's like these companies get together and kind of decide this is what's going to be fashionable. Is that what you see in the fashion world?
Well, when we go to these markets, yes. Like, I know, because I was just at market, and I know which one's going to be the color of the,
2026,
because
you're having to buy now for...
I've already bought for fall, yeah. So the only thing that I have left to buy is maybe more dresses for late November, December. But yeah, so you kind of get an idea of what's going to be trending.
What is supposed to be.
Yes.
That was kind of what I was getting to. I feel like there's a difference between fashion and trendy.
Yes.
Fashion. I feel like fashion is something more that is a little more timeless, has a little more length, and trendy is like maybe it's only popular for a month or two.
Well, that's the fast fashion is kind of what they're talking about, where the Forever 21s, the H&M, that's just kind of the fast, it's not going to really...
But what I am proud of with Monkees as a franchise, and, we're all individually owned, so I decide what brands I want to carry, and you guys have heard what's happening with the tariffs, and talk about being a small business owner, and you've already purchased...
inventory,
$200,000 worth of inventory, and now you're getting emails saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, the prices are going to go up by, 5%."
So are you waiting?
Or some by 20%.
Yeah.
And you have to pivot and adjust. Okay. So you either have to go back to those orders and cut them down, or cancel some altogether. But
then you don't have inventory to sell, so it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So it's a lot. Like, it's not, most people think that, it's just a fashion boutique and it looks fun on Instagram. But I always joke that, I started a business thinking I was going to be doing something. I do all the work that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when you're a small business owner, you're
Yeah.
the accountant, you're stock the
things.
shelves,
Yeah.
you're the salesperson, you run the
Yeah.
cash
Therapist.
register, you're the therapist. Yeah. You're HR, you're all of that.
And you can't blame anybody else.
You're the
So,
captain of the ship.
yeah.
Yeah. So does Monkee's, so you set your orders up, so for fall, and they ship you all that stuff. Do they give you like an extended period of time to pay for it, or are you paying for
Well,
that stuff right up front?
I buy directly from my vendors, not
Okay.
through Monkee's.
Oh,
Monkee's
you
has
don't?
nothing
Okay.
to do with
Interesting.
What's the advantage of being a Monkee's
name.
friend? Okay.
the name. They so the lady that started the store, brilliant woman, obviously. She did what I used to do with makeup. I used to travel all over the state of Florida, and she used to sell, I believe, sunglasses. And she just got tired of traveling, and she said, I just want to open a store. I'm going to open a store. I'm going to raise my 2 little monkeys. And so that's how Monkees started. So she opened her store, and then her best friend, which lived a couple hours away, it did so well. Her best friend was like, hey, let's franchise it. And I want to copy and paste the same thing here. And that's how it started. And now it's up to late. But it is an East Coast store.
Yes,
There's only 5 stores here.
People were very excited when it was
Yes.
coming here to Drip because
But
they've
it's
heard
got
about
a
it.
huge following. The name, like as a buyer, a new boutique owner, it would be really hard for me because believe me, I thought about doing it on my own, but having the Monkee's name behind you, I could carry whatever brand I want.
It makes you more of a destination than just somebody happening to come by.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're buying directly from the manufacturer or the clothing company, what does Monkee's actually give you besides the name?
So they have a great marketing. I mean, they're when you first open the store, they're amazing in the fact that they want you to succeed. So when you make that first buy, which is very overwhelming, especially for me here. I mean, I didn't know. I was going on a guess.
Right.
And Monkee's being an East Coast store, mostly all those stores are a little bit more preppier than here. We're not very preppy here.
Yeah, Central Texas is a
interesting.
little
So
more bohemian lifestyle here.
Yeah.
Especially here in
I'll
Drip.
tell you what, though, we're fancy.
I agree with that.
We are expensive.
We bougie?
We're bougie.
Well, I mean,
People get surprised when I
we're-
say that, but I'm telling you, it's been very interesting seeing what these women want.
Dripping Springs is a very affluent community.
Yes.
There's a lot of money here. You kind of don't see it sometimes, but we're very wealthy compared to other parts of Texas.
I was
Absolutely.
wondering because I know that there are certain stores that are you following not only the fashion trends, but are you also following the geographic events that are going on? So, like here in Texas, there's rodeo season. So now you're going to have to think for next year, I need to start buying more things rodeo season-esque.
Yes.
Or especially here in Drip, there's the UT games. Okay. I mean, there was a time where I was like, I knew I was going to a UT game on a Saturday, and a Friday I was frantically going up and down Mercer Street trying to find something to wear to the UT game.
So last year, I made a couple of shirts that were made just for our store, so nobody else in the area could use the same shirt
Design.
or design. And I thought, I've got plenty. I have plenty. We sold out of 3 styles. I think I had like 25 shirts of each style. And so we were delayed opening. We opened November 8th. So between November 8th and January, we sold every single one of those
Was it
3 styles.
something to do with Dripping Springs?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
was?
like the burnt orange, the football.
Okay.
So that's not happening this fall. You should just wait and see what I got coming.
Yeah.
So there's no more running up and down if you can't find something.
Good,
You're
I'm
going to be able to
gonna
find
one-stop-
something at
you're
Monkee's.
gonna
One-stop
find it.
shop for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to be really creative now in retail, don't you? It's not, you can't just open the store and say, we're here from whatever, 10
Well,
to
it's
6, Monday through Friday.
Social media game too.
Yeah. So what are you doing to be creative to promote your store?
Social media.
Yeah.
People want to see. They don't want to just see a pretty picture. They want to see who's behind you, the company. They want to see you wearing the clothes.
How the sausage is made.
Yeah,
we talk about that.
Yeah, we talk about that.
They want to see all of that, but they want to see it at speed, record speed.
Yeah.
So if you're taking a minute to show them something, that's too long.
Oh. Did Monkees help you with the social media aspect of things, or did you figure that out on your own?
No, I do all the social media on my own, but again, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Okay,
Yeah.
so in the time we moved here, I started Explore DSTX Media Group.
Yes.
So I did marketing for some local businesses,
Okay.
and
She was highlighting local businesses.
Yeah,
yeah.
during that time, I would sporadically just put polls out, what is missing in Dripping Springs. And in my head, I mean, I already knew what I wanted to open, but I wanted that reassurance. And over again, I would get a nice boutique. There's plenty of boutiques, you
Yeah.
know, like they're all great. I shop at all of them. There's room for everybody. And the one thing that I kept getting back and forth was, we want a nicer boutique where we can get a nice dress for church, for a wedding. I mean, we live in the, wedding capital of Texas.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a boutique where these women could come and shop for dresses. So that's another one that we are doing very well with.
Wedding type dresses.
Yes, yeah.
I could see that, because anytime you needed something like that in the past, you got to drive into Austin somewhere to find that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you need like a sundress or a t-shirt or something.
But yeah, a casual dress is fine. But imagine, I mean, we're the wedding capital of Texas, and imagine coming here for a wedding and you're like, oh no, I left my dress
Or my Spanx.
or something. Yes, or my
Yes.
Spanx or something last minute. These are
Never had that thought.
first world problems, but it's serious.
No, it is. It is. And you would be amazed at how many women show up to the store and they're like, oh, they'll come in on a Thursday or a Friday, or like a Friday and the wedding is on Saturday, and they'll go, I have a wedding Saturday at Camp Lucy and I don't have a dress.
Oh God.
And I'm thinking, what?
So did
What?
they forget, or they
No,
they planned to come
they
here?
planned to come
Oh my gosh!
and
Wow.
buy the dress at Monkees. So,
There you go. That works out
so
for
the
you.
expectations are very high.
That works for you.
Either that, or you're just going to get what you get,
Yeah.
whatever's on the
Yeah.
You
shelf.
get what you get, and
Yeah.
you don't throw a fit, right?
You mentioned in your bio something about body dysmorphia, and I wanted to ask you about that. You said we asked you about interesting topics in your work life, and you put body dysmorphia and women fashion trends. What do you mean by bodies? I know what body dysmorphia is, but what do you mean by that as far as how it's impacting you?
So I, just like, we live in a world where it's, filled with perfect images, filtered, completely changed. When you see somebody and they don't look like they do on their social
we see
media,
that.
you know
Yeah.
that.
Just talking
just-
about this yesterday.
Yes,
Exactly. Just talking about this.
So we are so bombarded with perfection all the time that one thing that I have noticed that genuinely makes me sad is I will get women in the store and they do not see what I see and how beautiful they look in something. Some tend to pick themselves so much apart that I'm like, where do I go? Like, how do I put you all back together so that you could see even half of what, not just me, but all the other girls are seeing? That's one thing that I think just hopefully Monkees can help change that.
I hope so. I had this experience. I took a group shot with a group of women, and I'll be 55 this year. I never use a filter, like unless somebody else uses a filter, but I never use a filter. Sorry, what you see is what you get with me. And a lot of these women are just constantly over filtered. I'm not bagging them for it, but at some point you got to realize that that's your face, that's your body,
Yeah.
that's your life, and you are missing out on so much if you're so concerned about putting this fuzzy filter on your face. It's like, you are beautiful where you are. And I've always kind of felt like I need to love the size I'm in, whatever that is, and dress for the size I'm in.
I can tell you women are a lot harder on other women than men are on women. Like,
Yes.
I see women of all shapes and all sizes, and I think, man, that's a beautiful woman.
I doubt
And-
you ever go, wow, I wish she had longer lashes.
No, I never.
Doubt it.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's
probably like, what's that on their eyeballs?
Yes.
But no, my point is that men see women completely differently, obviously. But women, they're very hard on themselves, and I think they're very hard on each other.
Yeah.
And
I
that
think they're
probably
harder
causes-
on themselves. I mean, I've been guilty of that, and I think it's sad because we look at what it's doing to our young women, and I think social media has played such a big part about it. It's like you got to look perfect all the time. And it's like, it's just, you're never going to look
Well,
perfect.
and what was considered perfect 50 years ago is not considered perfect now compared to 50 years ago is like perfect times 10.
Yeah.
Like if you look at some of
Plastic.
the women that were considered beautiful in the 50s and 60s, they're nothing like what we would see now
what do
that
they
would
say?
be considered
Marilyn
perfect.
Monroe was like a size 12, size
Yes.
14,
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. She had a tummy when she sat down, like a normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
it is kind of crazy.
so that's the one thing that I didn't realize was going to be as
A factor into it.
big of a factor.
Positive
but I have
body
to say
reinforcement.
that I love doing what I do, not just to sell a dress or to do a video on Instagram or I absolutely love when I get a woman in the store, and there's been several of these occasions that it has happened, and they leave in tears of happiness. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
and like, to me, that's how I know that I'm doing something I love, because that is so fulfilling to me, that they come in the store, they look completely like they're just defeated. I hate everything that I have in my closet. Please help me. You tell me what looks good on me, because I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say those are my favorite, because they're not, but they're my favorite in the sense that if I get to help another woman feel that good when they leave and that happy, that like is so soul fulfilling
And
to
that's
me.
a good day.
That's a good day.
That's a good day. How
Yes.
are you guys, and Monkeys, I kind of see you all around, but how are you guys giving back to the community?
We so when we first moved here, when I started James Carlton's, proceeds to that went to children's charities. We always donated, and then we moved here, and then I heard about Foster Village.
Yes.
And immediately I knew that was my cause. My husband was adopted when he was a child. His sister was adopted. We've thought about adopting. So it's something that's dear to me. And foster villages, one way that is.
They're doing great work.
Amazing. And that's knowing that she was just a mom.
We had him on the podcast very early on when we first started the podcast, and to hear
Crystal?
and
Yeah.
to
Crystal,
start her store, how it started, and how now it's, I guess, copied all over the United States, which is just amazing.
Yeah, it started right here in Dripping Springs.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Elona, you mentioned that on your bio that the state of our country that your kids are growing up in is something that concerns you sometimes. What do you mean by that?
I think with my past experience and, being born in a communist country and knowing what that entails, hearing the stories of my grandfather and grandmother and my mom, which it's not that long ago, and what they had to go through, freedom to me is very important and something that I'm never going to shy away from defending.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned about everything. Like there's so much anger and hatred all around in our world right now that it concerns me about my kids and their future and their mental state and what, how it's going to affect them in the long run.
I've often wondered how much of that is the media shining a negative light on something that's the minority feeling, and that the majority of us are truly wanting to get along and breaking bread with people. And the media, they thrive off the negativity and the toxic side of it.
Yeah, finding that one little example of the worst type of humanity and playing it over and over. Michelle and I had lunch with a client yesterday who they have completely different political beliefs than we do, and we had the greatest time with them,
and we just adore them,
and they like us, and we love them.
They know that we're on different sides.
I was like, God, we need a little more of that in the country, don't we?
But there is a lot of that. But like you said, Michelle, that doesn't gain attention.
That doesn't make the news.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I'm a believer of free thinking, and even though I don't agree with you on some aspects of what you believe, I can respect parts of it.
You're going to listen to,
or I'm going to listen to. I'm going to listen to your side of the story, and then I'm going to tell you why I believe what I believe, because my path, my road to where the beliefs that I came to today is completely different than yours or your.
Yep.
So I think that's what we've lost along the way.
That's where I have always come from, that understanding as well.
And I've learned more from somebody with a different point of view than I learned from somebody that has the exact same point of view as me. So, sometimes I think I'll hear their point of view and I'll think that's absolutely wrong, and that's okay. But sometimes they say something and I go, dang, I never thought about it that way. It might open up some different thought about things that I had never pondered before. So.
Well, I have a kind of a feel-good, kind of weird story that you're going to be, I don't know.
I know. I can't wait to hear about this.
You out. Okay, so like I said, I'm kind of a little stalker on social media.
I know. You friended me on Facebook, and I was like, I'll let her do some stalking.
Yeah. No, this was outside of Facebook.
Okay.
It was outside of Facebook. So I read a story about your brother-in-law that was stuck in the Bahamas during the hurricane, and you and your husband had a GoFundMe account for the victims. And deep within the story, so then I Googled his name and I started following him. And deep within this story, I came across it where it said the Coast Guard rescue swimmers came to him and he was helping people, and they said, we're really sorry, but we don't have any room on the helicopters. And he's like, well, when am I going to be rescued? I'm basically paraphrasing. When am I going to be rescued? Well, you're able-bodied, and we have to help those that can't help themselves right now. And he's like, when are you going to come back? We don't know. They flew off. My son was a rescue swimmer in the Bahamas during the hurricane. And I told Steve, so it was the Miami station that handled the Bahamas, and he came out of Puerto Rico. His station was out of Puerto Rico. But he did go to the Bahamas several times. But then there was some point he got stuck at Turks and Caicos, and Steve and I were laughing.
He was on the government dime
for 3 days, and they were in their flight suits, and they were enjoying the spa or whatever because the resort put them up. And I thought, how funny is it? I was like, I can't promise you that it wasn't not only my son or one of my Coast Guard sons.
I'm sure.
But I just thought it was such a funny little kind of path.
It could have been Tate standing at the door going, no, sir, you're able-bodied. You cannot get on this helicopter.
That was such a wild time. We had just moved to Dripping that July.
That's right.
That July.
Yeah, that's when it happened. It was
so September 1st is when the hurricane was coming. And it wasn't even supposed to go where, so my in-laws actually have lived in that island for, gosh, I don't know, like 50 years, since they were very, very young. So they're from Florida, like that. They've been going back and forth, with the big fishermen's. So they own the Marsh Harbor Marina and Jib Room Restaurant in the Apicos, and my brother-in-law moved out there. So when the hurricane was coming, I mean, we're used to hurricanes, but this one was, I'm like, I think you should leave. I think you should leave. And September 1st, we did not hear from my brother-in-law for 2 days. I mean, we just assumed that he was dead.
the worst.
The worst. finally, when we did hear from him through the satellite phone, his entire house. So his house was just right around the corner from my in-laws' house. When my in-laws' house built the house, their house, it was supposed to sustain Category 5, everything. So his house, he made the last minute decision to leave his house and go to the in-laws' house, to his parents' house. So his house was complete, the ocean completely. Like there was nothing left except even the foundation was like almost ripped out.
Oh my gosh.
So had he stayed there, he would have been
Certainly
dead.
yeah.
So they go to my in-laws' house, and they had built like a safe room. So there was a big rock in the house, and they had built like a safe room around that rock. And that's where he spent 3 nights. So when the eye came and they had a little bit of time, he rushes, goes to the neighbor. I mean, like pretty incredible stuff, you know, basically rescues a couple and then rescues the older man.
Jeez.
So the older man is the one that they took.
That they took.
Yes. And they just hunkered down. At one point, the wind pulled that door, and they were stuck there for.
That's so crazy. It's
So
you feel so powerless.
I
in
got
those
pictures of
situations.
the devastation from Tate. I think he didn't FaceTime me. I think it was just pictures because they didn't have a lot of service and just the flyover. And they didn't have any safe space to land. And they also were afraid to land because they wouldn't be able to refuel. And those helicopters are only allowed to be up for so long.
But just, I'm going to make this quick. So we had, just moved here. That happens, and I'm thinking, I felt so helpless because you got to remember, my in-laws have been going there for many, many years. My husband has been going there since he was like a child, and I've been going there for the past 20-something years. So we know these people.
Yeah.
Like, they're not strangers.
Right.
They've seen my kids grow. So I'm sitting here in Dripping Springs, and I'm like, what can I do, and how can I help? So I started that GoFundMe. And when I tell you, that was the most humbling, I almost feel like it did more for me than it did for them.
Huh.
Because I was able to coordinate from Dripping Springs, breweries, local businesses in Jacksonville, Florida. And within 2 weeks, I was able to raise $50,000.
Oh
Wow.
gosh. Jeez.
And 3 semis full of goods that went to the islands.
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
And it was all organized from here.
Wow.
But it was
that story turned out way better than I thought it was going to turn out. Look at that.
So, when there's a will, there's a way.
Sure.
And people, there's more generous people out in this world than there's not.
100%.
So,
100%.
And I've seen that with my GoFundMe, and then I've seen that with Foster Village.
Yes.
Their gala was like they blew it out of the water last time.
This town, when there's a need, this town turns out like everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to give. Everybody wants to participate. It's amazing.
It really is.
How great this town is.
And that was one of the reasons why I chose to make it home, is because I've seen how this town comes together. Yes, Dripping Springs neighbors.
It's not really indicative.
But
it's not really indicative of who we are as a town.
No.
You're always going to have the nut jobs. Well,
how can people find out more about the store?
Well, just stop by. Stop by the store. We're right there at the Windmill Center, right next to Garbo's. It's right here in Dripping Springs. That was one thing that I didn't want it in Belterra. I didn't want it in Bee Cave. I wanted to be in Dripping Springs, and it's right here. You don't have to go anywhere.
I'm going to bring my wife in. I wish she had men's stuff, but I'll bring my wife over. A lot of the stuff that I saw on your website, I was like, wow, Holly would look really cute in that.
Well, you already look like a monkey, that's why.
Well,
Yes,
we are
I've been
missing
told.
a nice men's store, are we?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, well, you probably could. Maybe you could help with that, Elona. That would be great. I had to drive all the way into Austin to get a suit yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, I have just a couple of really rapid fire questions for you right now. So, your favorite slang in Albanian?
Oh, God. Favorite in Albanian?
Yeah.
Let's go. Hajde.
Haida?
Heide.
Let's go. Okay.
Haida, okay. Haida.
No curse words.
You're right. Designer you would like to meet, living or dead?
I know this is cheesy, but Ralph Lauren.
Oh, well, maybe one day you'll
Is Ralph Lauren still alive?
Yes, he is.
He is.
Okay, I'm just. I don't
Time is
know.
running out.
Yes.
Steve and his
never know. You
lack
never
of
know.
alive
Yeah.
people. Do you own a pair of Crocs?
Absolutely not.
Oh, good. Yeah, me neither.
You know,
neither.
that's so funny you asked me that
Me neither.
because I saw a meme where it's like, well, at least I don't own any Crocs or something.
I feel like
Yeah, and I thought-
if you're wearing them at home, maybe, but if you're going out in public in those, you've just given up. There's you're not worried about fashion on any level.
On any level.
But I do have two boys that love Crocs.
Well, there you go.
Well,
At least
but
you don't have them.
when you're
And
kids,
I may or may
yeah.
not have slipped my feet in them in the backyard.
Yeah.
But I'm not, nowhere.
On that note, heels or sneakers on weekends?
Ooh.
You're going to have to wear sneakers this weekend because it's going to be a long
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah,
Is this
I do love me a pair of sneakers.
And my last question is, what is your favorite fashion era?
Oh, gosh.
If you could go back.
If I
and we
could go back, I always tell all my friends and my husband, I want to come back in the 1920s as a rich girl with pearls everywhere
yeah.
and like with the hair and all that.
It'd take you 4 hours to get ready to go out. And they got ready to go out. Whenever they go to the grocery store, they got like fixed up, right? If
Yes.
they were flying, it looked like they were going to a wedding
Well, they
or
had
something.
3 outfits
Oh, wow.
back then, too. You know, I also read that Albanians are famously private when I was telling Steve this, but instead it's ironic considering they'll ask you deeply personal questions within 30 seconds of meeting you. And I want to say you have opened yourself so much. We've learned so much about your home country and why you've chosen to make Dripping Springs your home. And we're really honored that you got to spend your afternoon with us.
You want to say something
Well,
in
thank you
Albanian
so
to our
much.
listeners?
Oh, gosh, no.
How about goodbye?
Mirupavshim.
There you go.
It's not even a goodbye. That's the irony of it all. So the word itself means until we see each other again. There is no
Say it
goodbye.
again.
Mir upavshim. So
I can't even attempt it.
Yeah.
Miru Popkshin. Well, thank you, Elona. It's
Thank
been
you
really
so much,
fun.
you
I told you
guys.
you were going to sit down
Yeah.
and just enjoy it and not be nervous, and you did great.
No, not at all. I'd love to come back.
We'd
Yeah,
love it.
well, it's been fun. We need to make a field trip over to the
That's
store
true.
just to check it out.
Yes, yes.
So, well, thank you very
guys
much
for
for your
having me.
time
I
today.
appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
All right.
was
Nice
fun.
work. Well, that was an hour.